Once you've actually finished doing all the different value scales on this worksheet, you have transferred your four images, your four still lifes. Your next step is actually going to be taking the value scale and applying it to the actual still life drawing. Taking this and applying it here, so on and so forth. Do the value scale first. That is practice. I cannot stress this enough. Do the value scale first. It makes no sense to jump straight into the still life drawing without doing this first. Here, this is practice that you're going to apply to this. Got it? Good. Moving on. All right. So when doing this, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be adding the values and using this image as reference. Before you actually start applying any of the value, you're going to take your kneaded eraser, you're going to soften it up, move it around, and you're going to lighten your lines. Okay. The point is that you're able to see your lines a little bit, but you don't want an outline around the objects. You basically want your values to create the edges. I mean, when you're looking at this object here, the reason why you notice this edge is because there's light against dark. The reason why you notice this corner is because it's light against dark. Okay, so you're going to want to be making sure that you're paying attention to that contrast. You don't want an outline between, around the objects. That's naive. It's not demonstrating mastery. Okay, so now, when you're starting here, just like you do with the value scale, is it easier to get lighter or is it easier to get darker? It's easier to get darker, right? So you should start light. Okay, so as always, I typically start with either my 4H or 2H pencil, one or the other. Before I even start adding some value, I take a look and make sure that my pencils are sharpened. There's no sense in trying to draw with an unsharpened pencil. It's pointless. All right, moving on. Dad joke, nailed it. All right, so when starting with this, the sphere is actually a fairly easy object. I basically come into it and I identify my light areas, my midtones, my dark areas. I notice that this is actually lighter than this. This is actually lighter than this. So nothing in this composition is going to be lighter than this area. So that means I could actually start with my 4H or my 2H. So I'm going to come in here with a circular motion, and I'm actually just adding in a base value. Now, because I have a lot of control over my 4H pencil, I don't necessarily have to layer in with my 2H. Okay? Again, it's because I have a lot of control with my 4H pencil. I'm able to go very, very light. So once I come in here, notice I added a little bit of the dark value in there. Coming up in here. Now I'm going to jump straight over to my HB. Reason why I'm going to my HB and not jump into 2B is because I've got a really dark value up here, really dark value here, dark value here. This is nowhere near as dark. So I'm not going to jump to a pencil that goes that dark. I'm going to come over here with my HB and I'm going to add a little bit of value in here and I'm going to start to blend it in to what I have in there already, so that way I get a nice fluid blend. A nice gradual transition. Okay. Notice where I'm holding the pencil towards the back. Reason for that is that I could get a lot larger of a pencil stroke and cover more ground quickly. Okay, that's my basic foundation. From here, since I've actually been showing you how to use the blending stump, I'm actually going to come in and I'm going to start blending in and starting to create some more of the roundness of this object, of the sphere. It's not about pushing down really super hard. It's just about building up those layers and allowing the pencil to create the values for me, what I've put down already. You'll notice I'm starting to get those values in there. It's not done, all right, but you get the idea, right? Yes, you get the idea. You get it. Okay, so I'm going to it's not done, but I'm going to move on to another part so that we could get to drawing. And here's one of the things where people typically make a mistake, okay, is when you're working with the cube and with the background. You have to remember, the cast shadow is actually part of the background, okay? These two parts here are part of the same object. The cast shadow is part of the background. Just like with the cube, these two sides are part of the same cube. Why would you shade them separately? Doesn't make any sense, but yet that's what people do. Okay, I'm here to show you actually how to do this. So I'm actually going to once again start with my lightest pencil, and notice I'm going to come into here with my 4H pencil and notice how I shade both sides of the cube. Then I'm going to be able to come over here. I'm going to add a little bit of a darker value here, come into here a little bit more. Now I'm actually going to jump over to my HB once again, and I'm going to darken this area in here, this side of the actual object. Adding my value in here, noticing that it gets a little bit lighter here, so I'm not necessarily going to go as dark in that area, so I reduce pressure. Come up over into here. Notice I'm not drawing an outline. Notice I'm coming up to my edge and allowing that value to create the edge. So my whatever line I've drawn disappears. Okay, I'm going to leave that for now, and I'm going to come in here with my blending stump, and I'm going to start to blend in my sides and my pencil strokes. So notice how it kind of makes it a little bit darker as I'm blending in. That's the point. That's why I don't necessarily want to finish it all up with my pencils just yet, knowing that I'm going to add and blend with my blending stump. Notice how it starts to work. Okay. Now I'm going to jump into this lighter area in here, but notice how it's dirty. I'm going to try to rotate to get to a cleaner side, so that way I don't necessarily make it darker. But let's say I do want to go a little bit darker. I turn it, and I could actually add a little bit of value with the dirty blending stump. See that? It's getting there, right? Not done yet, but you get the idea. With the background, same thing. I start with my 4H here, maybe even my 2H. You know what? I'll do my 2H. Mix it up a little bit. I'm going to do my 2H in here. Then I jump to my next pencil. So come in here and I shade it up. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to shade across just to darken a little bit more. Okay. I could even come in here now with my blending stump. I can start to blend some of those lines in. So I create a nice, even value. Okay, I'm going to use my blending stump a little bit. Yep, can't. So now I'm going to go into my HB, since my blending stump is fairly clean. And I could add my value, and you'll notice that it starts to look more natural than if I would have shaded this, then this, or this around this. You get these different values in here. You get layers, 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 layers. Those of you that have had me before know that that's one of the secrets to a successful drawing is layers. Notice I'm coming in here, and notice how I start to fade towards the edge into my background, and it starts to look more natural because I have something to blend into back there. Get it? It's not done yet, but you get the idea. All right? That's how you start using the rendering and modeling. Cool. Good luck.